Nick Lance.
So all I needed was a microfiber cloth and I let it all out.
Melanie, I believe.
I was asked to be on
Mel goes, I'm happy.
I told Billy quite a while ago, I said if I were
remote work.
Yeah. The thing is, I can't get there till Thursday. I can't go on Wednesday, and that means I got to do the ethics class online.
So I want to bring it up, or you bring it up, and I can talk about what I talked about.
When do you want to do it? Tonight? Or that?
No. No,
Okay.
not tonight.
Thank you.
I made an extra copy because I gave Billy one, and they do other things. They do I know you've been talking about it.
I appreciate that.
So
I know I would like to. I do too.
it all the time.
Hybrid, yeah.
My friend in California, he does it. He said if he has to go for a site or a road thing, that counts as a day in the office. I mean, all kinds of different things. So.
Yeah, I think I.
But anyway, we can bring it up.
Thank you.
We'll be out of here by 10.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you.
Put it all straight.
Maybe.
Ain't it great?
Let's see that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think she said
Miss Melanie?
after consent, the city manager first.
Yeah, after.
Okay, so the whole
Just
thing is just
five,
gonna move
not
out.
5.3, but 5.1 and 5.2.
So these, this help if you star it and then just put a star after consent possibly? Will that help you just a little bit? And then right here.
Very true.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular city council meeting for Zephyrhills, Florida on Monday, July 22nd, 2024. It is 6:02 p.m. The city clerk, can I have the roll call, please?
Yes. Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Charles Proctor,
Here.
Mayor Munson,
Here.
Lance Smith,
Here.
Jody Wilkerson,
Here.
Stephen Spina,
Here.
Matthew Maggard, William Poe. Here.
Okay, at this time, we're going to rise for the invocation. It will be delivered by Kendall DeFord, and follow that with a pledge of allegiance.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Thank you, Kendall, for that. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. We've got a pretty packed agenda here. I could like to ask you to silence your cell phones and electronics at this time, if you could do that for me. There will be a time at the end of the meeting for citizens' comments, and then two particular items that we discussed, too. You just need to sign up with the city clerk if you haven't already done so. If you want to sign up and to speak to an item, you'll have 3 minutes to give your remarks. All right, at this time, the mayor, I believe, first has an emergency item.
Thank you. I'd like to add something in between 1 and 2, just a presentation, if I could.
Mr. President, I would add.
Second.
Wait a minute. I want to add the mayor's emergency item. Now you
Second.
can. There you go.
We do have a motion and a second to approve the mayor's emergency item. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I've asked Ernie and Leanne to come. They are a new organization in our community. It's called Vets Feeding Vets. They're out at the AMVET, the old medical building. We used to go get our shots there. You guys will remember that. So I asked them to come and just take a couple of minutes to introduce the program and tell you a little bit about what they're doing.
Thank you, Mayor.
And can you state your name and address for the
Ernie
record?
Smith, I'm with Vets Feeding Vets, the Executive Director. We started a program 2 weeks ago. We fed 54 vets in the last 2 weeks. Any vet that's hungry, we're going to give them food. We're giving them bags of food, frozen meat. We're giving them produce and any dry goods we get in. We've been getting donations from a lot of the businesses in town. It's really a good program, and any vet that you know of, send them out there. It's 4717 Airport Road, the old medical building for a lot of people who've been around here for years. And it's really, I had this, well, about 6 months ago, the AMBET was deciding what to do with this building. So about 3 months ago, I said, okay, here I know what to do with it. And we started, Leanne and myself has worked hard in this building. The mayor's been out there. It's looked like a different building now, and we're ready to proceed with any vets that wants food. Thank you.
And they are feeding
Thank
on
you.
Fridays from 10 until 2. Every Friday.
Every Friday.
Okay? So I
Thank you very
Right,
much.
thank you.
thank you.
Sounds like a very worthy program.
It is, and it was great to be out there on the opening day and get to meet these vets. And, you know, the thing that most of them talked about is the rising cost of food, is how it was so difficult for them to be able to have food every week and have every meal. So this was a real blessing, and I was glad that they included me, and I appreciate these two are people who have given back in our community for a number of years, and I applaud them for going outside their box and serving even in a whole different way. So thank you. So then I'd like to have council come up front with me, and Ms. Hillman come up too, please. So some of you do not know, but Lori has been our city clerk for how many years, Lori?
About
10 years. And she's been with the city, though, more than 20. And she's ready to retire August the 1st. So we wanted to recognize her years of service to the city. We want to thank you as a council. We know you've kept the council on track. And we appreciate that, and you've been a good leader for this whole council. So we appreciate that, and we just wanted to give you a thank you.
thank you.
And here you go. Okay, Before I go, I needed to see if we could move city manager's report 5.1 and 5.2 to after the consent items too. I don't think we need an approval of that. We're just going to move those up, so
I'm just going to move items 5.1 and 5.2 after the consent agenda items.
after the consent. Thank you. Thank you. And then my only other thing is, you guys saw the memo. We did complete the city manager review. I wanted to thank each one of you for getting that to me quickly and being able to put that together. I've met with him, and I put a review in, you know, like a little written report in there, and I just wanted to thank you, and we'll keep following up and go forward from that. So appreciate it.
Well, can we get a copy of the written remarks from the other council members so we can
Yes,
see what each one
absolutely.
said?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted that, but I do have that in report form, so I could send that to each one of you for sure. So I appreciate your help, and it was a learning curve for me, and Sandra in HR was a huge help, and I wanted to thank her too. So this was but we've got it done, and we did a good job, so thank you. And thank you, Billy. We appreciate you. We know that it's never easy to have a review, and unfortunately, he had not had one for a number of years, so that was appreciative of you spending time with me, so thank you. That's all I have.
Anybody have any comments on that? Or?
Yes,
We got a
Mr.
pretty good
President.
score, yeah.
And I think it'd be helpful if we all sat down, took an hour and sat down and kind of went over the review with the city manager, just to kind of go over, because I don't think, I did somewhat, but I'm going to take a little more time and go over the
Yeah,
comments.
I agree. That's a good practice to do.
Good idea.
All right, that's it, right, Mayor? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda items, and there's 4 of them, I believe.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I'll second. And can I just say for the record too, we have there's a long time, the longest serving city council person has agreed to come back and serve on the planning commission. That's Clyde Brecknell, right back there. So thank you, Clyde.
How many years was Councilman Bracknell on?
How many
27.
years, Clyde?
27.
29.
29? Thank
I was wrong.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Have him on the planning commission. I know he's going to bring a great wealth of knowledge to that, and we appreciate him willing to serve, and thank you, Lance, for working with that.
All right, I do have a motion and a second to approve the 4 consent agenda items. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. On to our business items. We have a public hearing. And
No, we were going to move up, remember?
oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I told you guys I was moving those things up, and then I forget all about it. All right, so 5.1, the city manager report. Well, I'll turn it over to the city manager.
So I'm extremely excited for this item and the next item. So this item here is an economic incentive grant agreement, number 41-24-20 with MyTech Incorporated. MyTech owns just short of 111 acres of land for the future home of their Zephyrhills manufacturing facility, with a total capital investment of approximately $77 million. The agreement before council requires MyTech to construct a minimum of a 480,000 square foot light industrial manufacturing facility and create 155 new jobs to the city of Zephyrhills within the first 3 years. 120 of those jobs will have an average annual wage of at least $48,650, which is 80% of the median one person income in the Tampa MSA. It also allows the city access to examine the company documents that relate to the terms of this agreement. For that, the city agrees to waive or reimburse whatever's required, up to $430,500 in transportation impact fees, waive or reimburse up to $432,425 in permit fees, and also offer a job creation incentive grant equal to the amount of 50% of ad valorem taxes for the first 10 years after receipt of the certificate of occupancy, which will not to exceed amount of $2,045,312. The city manager may extend the period for compliance up to 1 year for good cause. Funding in the amount not to exceed $862,925 has been budgeted for fiscal year '25 to cover the economic incentives of permit fees and transportation impact fees. The funding in the amount of the not to exceed $2 million for taxes will be budgeted in the appropriate future years for the job creation incentives. With that, staff recommends approval of Agreement 41-24-20 between the City of Zephyrhills and MyTech. Any questions?
And I know we're excited to have something that big coming to our industrial corridor there, and so I will turn it over to council for discussion or entertain a motion.
I just have a question. What is my tax?
Want me to answer that, or?
I didn't see it and
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Hello, my name is Joe Siebert. I am the Director of Project Management for MyTech. We make a lot of building products, so mainly truss systems. So any house, 90% of the houses built in the country are using our truss plate technology. We work directly with home builders and truss associations to always engineer the best trusses that we can and just to forward that technology on. Any other questions?
Do we have a lot of competition?
You mean MyTech in general?
Well, you know, I think what's important to understand is that lots of cities want a company like yours, and that we often compete for business, and our friends at the Pasco Economic Development Council help us in that process and guide us, and just welcome to Zephyrhills. So.
Yes, thank you. No, we've enjoyed the process so far. We definitely look forward to what lie ahead. We did find a few spots near Tampa, which is where we currently operate, and also in Jacksonville, and then we, of course, have Zephyrhills. So there were a number of considerations when deciding where to lay down roots, and so we're still working through that process, but yeah, we're very excited to be here, and we only echo that sentiment that you guys have for us.
Thank you, and again, we're definitely excited to have you here. Mayor,
I'd like to say something on this. You know, this is actually one of the ready sites that PEDC has been working in partnership with the city and the county and ZEDC for a number of years. So this is testament to how that partnership is working. Thank you, Tom, for going out there and pushing our city and, you know, making sure that we're in the forefront and businesses like this find their way to us. We appreciate that. I want to thank Randy on the ZEDC level. He's been at the forefront a lot with helping on these kind of things. So this is a really great thing. I'm jumping for joy because you know that I worked hard on economic development for a number of years to make sure we are bringing the right people to the industrial corridor, and we're excited to have you. We're excited for the jobs that you're going to bring to our citizens and for our area. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So, council, any other questions or comments?
Welcome.
I move that we approve the agreement with MyTech.
Second.
And
Go ahead if you need to.
I was just going to say the economic incentive agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the economic incentive agreement with MyTech Incorporated. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And then that is Tom Ryan with the Pasco Economic Development Council, and thank you again, too, Tom. Thank you.
Glad
to have you.
Thank you.
All right, 5.2.
Item 5.2, the Tennis Pro Florida LLC agreement, number 37-24-06. I believe before I go into the memo, there's a short presentation by representatives of the organization.
Pascal Collard, SVB, Tennis and Wellness Center. So yes, I like to put it, you know, in pictures, in videos, images. We opened 4 years ago, working very hard with the entire team, and I think we were very successful in, I would say, 90% of the aspect, but there were two missing pieces, and one was in school. that would give us some visa for international student so that we can issue those visa with the school. And we just got it last week, and the owner of the school is here, actually, David Weisner. He's all over the world, Vietnam, China. So it's a privilege to have him coming to Zephyrhills. He partnered with us, and we're gonna have a school for those kids from all over the world. Now we have to find those kids. And that's where we failed in the last 4 years. It was very hard for us to have kids coming here in the boarding program because we didn't have a school on site. That was one of the reasons. The second reason is that, you know, we have a pretty good name in the tennis industry with the team here, but not internationally. So we start looking at different possibility with some big names in the tennis world. There are 4 names that are on the top for the last, I would say, 10 years now. I had one in mind that I really, really, really want, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. And we've been talking with several groups. That group that I had in mind with my team came to the table, came to visit, fell in love. I mean, they came from Europe twice, and they absolutely fell in love with SVB. And we are very close to do a partnership with them, a merge. It will definitely be a dream come true, and the last piece, missing piece, I would say, to the equation for us. So you're going to see a presentation. Just so you know, for people who don't understand tennis or don't know tennis, this is the equivalent of Lionel Messi in soccer to come in an academy in Zephyrhills, or Tom Brady coming and say, hey, I put my name there. That's exactly the same level. So this is the group. Well, let's try to go through it quite fast. This is him. He's coach, as you can see, many, many champions, including Serena Williams. Coco Gauff, who is the next one. She's number 2, also American. So he's definitely the new generation of Nick Bollettieri on steroids. I think that's it. Is it? I think there's more. Oh, there we go.
Would you say his name for us?
PM. Patrick Mouratoglou.
Yeah.
But everybody calls him PM. Different places in the world. Every time he picks, you know, destination very up there. And for the second time, we were competing with Miami. We beat Miami the first time with the padel. Hopefully we can beat them this time as well. It's pretty impressive what he did in the last years. He has his own tennis tournament like the US Open, and actually they're going to be doing it at Flushing Meadow in the US, in New York, for the second time in a few months. And he's trying to change a little bit the way tennis is viewed, and he wants to make it more fun. Short game, the coach can be on the court, there's color, there's music. What actually a lot of US citizens don't like about tennis. It's boring, it's too long, right? So he's going to make it a big show. That's the places he has right now. There is 3 tiers in his partnership. There are what he called, what most of the places that you see there are not tennis academy with boarding. Those are just destination where it has some coaches, and you can go there for like a day or two, a weekend. He has an exclusive for the Ritz-Carlton in the United States. They just signed about, I think, 2 months ago. We will be the only academy in America with boarding and visa and all planning. The big one and the one he started was in France, his home country. Zephyrhills. I love it. Yeah, when you see that.
Very end will be
So
Zephyrhills.
this is almost done. When you see all that, you're wondering, you go like, okay, we see all that, why Zephyrhills, right? Why there? I mean, I can tell you that I think it's several reasons. I think I know him for quite a bit now, and I already talked to him like 7 years ago, before we built actually. It kept evolving. I think that's probably the initial reason, but the main reason is that, you know, when they came, they were absolutely blown away. Not only by the beauty of the site, but I will never forget what he said. He said, I came here twice, it's always so clean. It's always so clean. But also by the family aspect and the welcoming from every employee. He said it, I think, 10 times. He absolutely was stunned by the service that we brought there, and he's always, you know, aiming for that type of quality. That's if you want to spend a weekend in Naples, he has those weekend destination. Same in New York. There. I'm going a little bit quicker. So that's his group. And then tonight I'm very proud to say that I think he has a little message for you guys. Nope.
Zephyrhills. I know you've all worked incredibly hard since the opening 3 years ago, and I'm truly eager to support the growth ambitions of the Zephyrhills community through sport and education, while also honoring Sarah's legacy in the best way possible. We will bring our values of excellence through the Murata Blue methodology to maximize the potential of current tennis players in Zephyrhills and attract more players and families to this vibrant community. I'm looking forward to meeting with you soon and bringing this project to life.
Before we go to the next slide, you heard him talking about Sarah, and I think that was critical. And we explained to him that we made a promise to the, oops, here we go again. To the family of Sarah, to make the name known all over the world in the tennis industry, and I think we did. Now we need help to go to the next level, but not without Sarah. So we would like to partner with them, merge with them. It does require a few changes, I would say, and help, obviously, because this group is going to invest a lot of money into the place, and with other also things that they will bring to the equation. They're interested in golf with Zephyrhills. They're interested in a pool, so they want to really, really do the thing right to bring it to the level like the other place that they have. So all together, we worked with Billy and with Matt. We worked on different signage, because the signage has to be, I would say, added. His name has to be added, but always making sure that Sarah is there. I personally reached out to him and I said, not only this is key and deal breaker, but also you need to help the foundation. Sarah's foundation is doing an amazing job. We had more than 60 to 80 kids per week, free camps at Sarah van den Berg Tennis Center. Nick is there? Or no? Back corner. Nick is over there.
Great job for the community's kids.
So we want to continue that. I think there are in more than, I say, 16 schools. Nick, I'm sorry if you're already in 20 schools. But yes, I think that this is going to also, help us even to go to the next level with everything we do around Sarah's name.
Right.
So, signage? Yep. That is signage. The proposed is to add the Sarah Vandenberg legacy at the entrance. There's nothing yet. There's nothing there for the moment. To add a sign on the road where the Murutaglu sign is coming, to add a sign like that you see there, stand-up sign. They are paying for all the signs, by the way. And then on the building, I think it's the next slide, to add the legacy on the building and to obviously keep the Sarah Vandenberg name there. There's one more? There's one more? Is there one more?
Oh, sorry, these are Dab. I didn't,
That's it, right?
yeah, this is what we put in there, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for being a little bit emotional, but this is a 1 year work, going back and forth to Europe, meeting with them for 2 days, come back here for them to come, and I'm passing all the, the details. I had to be handled with, accounting and all the rest, but and yeah, I mean, we're very happy to be here, and I hope that we will have your support tonight. Thank you very much, and thank you to the team. They did an amazing job.
I just want to be sure the foundation will still be called the Sarah Vandenberg Foundation.
100%.
So that's the arm that provides the charity work and the children activities and gets them into the.
It's actually an entirely separate entity.
Right. It's separate, and it maintains the name, and it provides the charitable arm to the community.
And I'll make sure that the group that we partner and merge with give us also a possibility to enhance, like the fundraising. I mean, there's a lot I'm thinking already about. I mean, imagine all those places. I think I don't, me, I try to go aim high, but I mean, I think that a few trips to all those places that you saw for free for the foundation as a donation for the fundraising, can generate quite a bit of money as well. There's a lot that you can do once you go to that level.
Well, it's definitely an exciting new part of the Sarah Vandenberg Tennis Center out there. I mean, I met when those guys came over from Europe here 1 month or so ago and showed the video and everything. I mean, they couldn't be more impressive. And I think, when we started down this, putting the tennis center out there, it's going to be economic development, economic driver, and we can see now that we're not just talking about around here and with gentlemen here with the school, but we're talking international now too. So it's a big deal. I mean, I'm very excited for this. So if anybody else have any comments or?
I do. So, I cannot imagine anyone more enthusiastic than you and Gabby and your team at Tennis Pro Florida. And I'm have just become enamored with the work that you all do, and especially Nick's work with the kids of our community. It's easy for me to remind people how much the foundation is doing for our community. And I don't think anyone that doesn't think outside the box like you could have imagined such a great partnership. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for all the hard work. I welcome the new group coming in. I think it is exciting, very exciting. And had it not been for a young lady who was here, was my best friend's, or my daughter's best friend, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. So I think out of tragedy, something wonderful it's become. So I want to thank you and thank them for keeping Sarah prominent in name on that and the foundation going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you as well, Pascal. You and your team have done an amazing job. It's been a long time in progress, and I think this is really going to take it to a next level that people don't even realize.
Yeah, I just want to say, too, so I have a family member who's in the tennis circles down in Boca Raton, which is a big place for that, too. And the first time he got to come up here and go to Tennis Center, SVB said, this is the nicest tennis center in the state of Florida. And he goes, I've been to some internationally, they're not even this nice. So you guys have done a great job out there. And then, of course, then that team has seen the potential. So really appreciate what you've done. And so what we have for us tonight is
Yeah, we have the official part.
the official part,
Yeah.
right?
So before you is the Tennis Pro Florida LLC agreement, number 37-24-06. I'm not even going to try the PM Academy Holdings Miami LLC, because I cannot say his last name, is purchasing the controlling stake in Tennis Pro Florida, thus assuming the contract with the city for management of the Sarah Vanderburg Tennis Center. Changes from the contract that we currently have with Tennis Pro Florida is Article 5.1. This section allows the contractor to sell and serve alcohol at the tennis center property in accordance with all applicable state and local laws and regulations. Currently, we make them adhere to the 49% alcohol sales, 51% food sales. And we took that restriction out and just you meet all of state and federal guidelines. Article 5.2. The section allows the city to utilize the indoor facility at the center, which we received bids on Friday. We're going through those numbers now, for the city's summer rec program from the hours of 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at no cost to the city. Article 5.3, the city agrees to work with the contractor to seek state and federal funds to assist in construction of the tennis center improvements, which could include the expanding the fitness center, providing some type of medical facility there for physical therapy, renovations or constructions of the Olympic-sized pool that's on an adjacent lot, the old Simon's pool that's out there. So we're committing to try to find some funding for that. Article 13.4, if MAHM decides to sell its ownership, they must come back before the council, as Pascal and the group are doing tonight, and the city shall not unreasonably withhold or delay the approval. And then MAHA will operate as the Martulu Tennis Center, Zephyrhills, and legacy of Sarah Vanderburg. Sarah Vanderburg's name will remain on the building, as you saw, of the center, and council can review and approve. What was not mentioned is the statute in the back, along with the story, Sarah's story, that will remain as well. That has all been discussed. And I know it was mentioned previously, but the foundation is a completely separate entity from MAHM. So no impact there, other than I believe it could benefit greatly. Side note, as everybody has said, the foundation does a great job reaching the youth in the schools, not just in Zephyrhills, but entire East Pasco. So great job to the foundation. Really happy and excited to see what you guys do in the schools. With that, there's no fiscal impact. If you choose to approve this agreement, staff recommends approval of Agreement 41-24-21. Any questions?
Council?
Mr. President, I move approval of this item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amended agreement with Tennis Pro LLC. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And thank you very much again, Pascal, Andy, and all the team for what you guys have done so far, and just bigger things to come.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to, well, those are the fun things. We got a nice manufacturing coming to our industrial corridor, and then the international tennis.
Cool, wow.
Now we're back to the business items. Business items is a public hearing, and I'll turn it over to our city attorney right now on the first one. 3.1.
Second, my computer's trying to catch up. I think we lost our internet and I'm hooked to
Mr. Maggard, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I was just asking you to give me just a second because I think when the power went out, we lost Wi-Fi for a minute, and I was waiting for my computer to connect. I think I'm good now. We are here for business item 3.1, first reading of ordinance number 1480-24, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, approving a small-scale future land use map amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, changing the future land use classification from P/SP, public, semi-public, and MU mixed use to RU residential urban, and amending the city's official zoning map, changing the zoning designation from PUD plan unit development and OP office professional to PUD plan unit development for parcel 35 25 21 0010 085 00 0010 and a portion of parcel 35 25 21 0010 06900 0020, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date.
All right, thank you, Matt. I'm going to, before council discusses, I'm going to, well, I'll let Todd go ahead. And do you have something to say before we open a public hearing, or?
Yeah, probably just
Okay.
a quick update.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director for the city. I was just going to bring up, won't spend a lot of time. You see the location at southwest corner, Pretty Pond Wire Road, a little over 17 acres. I did want to point out there was a lot of discussion at the last council meeting when this item was brought up. We've added a condition, and that condition is number 4, which I'll just read read for you just for the record. And that states that the PUD master plan shall conform with the existing grades and topography of the subject property and be subject to the tree removal guidelines as set forth. And we reference a section of the city's land development code that we referenced the last time, where in the future when a builder comes to us, they'll do a tree survey and they're allowed to take out X number of trees based on the average number of trees per acre. So we've included that language into the ordinance as a condition, and at the end of the day, you know, when the hospital sells a property, a builder will come to a pre-application meeting with the city. We'll refer to this ordinance and all the conditions that are in here, including the tree preservation standards, and we'll try to work with the grades. So I think just wanted to point out that we had, you know, the applicants here tonight. They heard the comments made by council, and we included that condition into the ordinance. Happy to answer any questions of the applicants here as well.
I would just,
Go ahead.
that was one of the conditions that bothered me at the last meeting, that there wasn't a stronger tree and topography guidelines set in, and number 4 does meet those. I would like to just say, since we're here, that I'd like that to be included in every one we do from now on, because it's kind of something that was in the code, but not something that we focused on very much. So if you could add that, but I appreciate you adding that. And
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the fact, after meeting with you and meeting with the city manager on this project, that the fact that when this land is sold, the money's going to go right back into the hospital. And the hospital does a lot for the city, which I appreciate. Not only does it do a lot for the city, but it does a lot for the surrounding areas. And I appreciate that fact, and the fact that we'll have control on whoever does purchase the property on what we want on there. So thanks, Todd.
Anybody else?
And nothing's changed from what we discussed before.
Correct.
They still have to bring back the site plan. We have architectural review of everything. So I think it gives us a lot more control over the site, and I think they understand the need for a good partner in the way of a developer, contractor to come in on this. They've been a great partner. I think they're going to pick out a good partner for the city moving forward, and they've given us a lot of control over it too.
And
So-
the road improvements, that's
Right.
a condition in here as well.
That was the right-hand turn lane on
Yeah.
Pretty
Plus-
Pond, right?
Plus some additional language that allows us to look at additional turn lanes if warranted by
Right.
the city or the county.
Okay, well, I appreciate the work everybody's done on it.
Yep, thank you.
I think one other point, too, is that we discussed in our budget workshop this afternoon that the plans are that the roundabout at the intersection of Pretty Pond and Wire Road will be completed before this project is completed.
That's what we anticipate, correct? Because we're nearing the completion of the final design engineering.
Right.
Yeah, then they'll get right-of-way use permits, and then if the council so chooses to budget the money for it, which sounds like you're interested in doing, we can move forward with that.
That's important. I think that the road improvements are there before the impacts, some of the impacts are there.
That'll help with traffic.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. City Clerk, has anybody signed up to speak to this item? Does anybody wish to speak to this? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will turn over to council for further discussion or a motion.
Go ahead.
President, I move to approve this item.
Second?
I have a motion.
Hello.
Thanks raising their hand.
Oh, okay.
Even though we've.
I'm sorry, I didn't see, it must have been behind Todd, I didn't see you, so. Okay, just state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to make your remarks.
My name's Bruce Myers. I live in Alpha Village. And this city is getting out of control. You don't have the road infrastructure for all these houses that are being built. My understanding is that you want to put 250 houses there. On an average, you have 2 cars per household. Where's all this traffic going to go? You cannot widen Wire Road unless you turn around, you tear out the trailer park down near 54. 54 has just been redone, and you got congestion down there still. You already have a moratorium on water in this area that you don't want to have any more houses built. You just got through building those 5 high-rises over there near Publix. You still have the thing going on there where Gore's Farm used to be. My understanding is at the corner of where Gore's Farm is on Pretty Pond and Wire Road, they want to put another 50 houses there. Also across the street, you have the county and the city land being combined to put 49 townhouses there. And originally when I came to this meeting, they were supposed to be condos. Now my understanding is they want to make it rental. I don't want rental people living behind me because they don't take responsibility. If you have an ownership and you're paying a mortgage and insurance, you're going to take more care of your property than you are by paying somebody's landlord bill. So I strongly disagree with selling that property to put residential houses there. I'm tired of the traffic that's here now. Look at 301. You can't even go out there in the afternoon. This city is now bigger than Newport Richey. This is insane. When I first came down here, this was an Orange Grove and cattle town. And it's getting way too damn big. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Myers. And in some of the discussions, and there's several road projects that are kind of already being in the pipeline, I guess to say, for the traffic. And we all understand the traffic is the main thing, and the roundabout is one of them they're talking about. And just to clarify, it's not actually going to be homes. Well, we don't know exactly what it's going to be yet for sure, but it could be up to 252 apartments is what actually has been proposed, but that's not a definite yet. So we are addressing the roads the best we can as we go along. There's county roads around there, so we're trying to do what we can with the county roads, partnering with the county. And some of the talk was just about the turning lanes for the project, the roundabout. There's going to be some stuff, improvements on 301 there with turning lanes. Those are all kind of out there right now. I know that doesn't do anything for us today, and if the city manager has anything to add on some of that, or as far as road projects, or, I mean, we're talking about.
I think you've covered it all.
Okay, got it all. All right.
Yeah, so the other, Cossack Road, we're working on that connection, Cossack to Wire. So that allows another access point, to 301. So hopefully take some traffic away from the Pretty Pond Wire Road intersection. You have to ask the council president.
That's a question.
You have a question? Just come up real quick for a question.
You're talking about extending Cossack Road down to Wire Road.
Yes, sir.
That was on the original plan. What are you gonna do with the houses that were just built there? You're gonna buy them out and tear them down?
There's right-of-way
There's
already
right-of-way for
dedicated
that
for that
road.
road.
Well, there is, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir, there
There must
is.
be a path, because I've been down there checking out that development. There is no way to get Cossack extended.
Yeah,
There
that,
is.
Get rid of those homes.
I respectfully disagree with you that there is. It's
if you,
already
if
been
you like,
surveyed and
if
the
you like,
stakes
sir,
are
you
out
can
there.
come in and they can, kind of pull up some of the overlays and the maps and stuff for you to show where Cossack Road will actually be. If you just come in and, somebody can,
I mean, when I was here for those 49 townhouses going in there across the street from this area, you were talking about a roundabout then. What is a roundabout gonna do with the traffic flow? You still have a four-way stop now, and it's congested. You're gonna
Right.
have a roundabout, you still have to stop, turn around, let somebody else drive
well,
around it.
the purpose of roundabouts is to keep traffic flowing, so, but again, if you wanted to take a look at, the road, Cossack Road, I would come in and have someone show you the, kind of the layout of it.
I'd appreciate that.
All right.
Because we're left in the dark now with the condos or the apartments being built behind me. I haven't heard anything since that meeting that I was at down here before.
And I don't think anything's moved forward on it yet either, so. But I would encourage you to come in and see how some of the road projects that we have kind of just for that general area there. Thank you very.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that are complaining. I know some of my neighbors in Alpha Village are gonna move if they put houses in there. Because this town's too damn big and no way to drive around. You
All right,
can't, I don't care if you put a roundabout in there or not. You
Okay,
can't
so-
widen Wire Road.
I know, sir. Okay, we have your comments and we have your remarks, and I'd like for you to come in and take advantage of seeing what the Cossack Road, at least, if to allay your fears there, so,
All righty.
thank you. All right, council, and nobody else to speak on this?
Seeing none, Mr. President, I move to
We already
approve.
have a motion and a second on the.
Oh, do we have a
Yeah, we
second?
do have a motion and a second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1480-24 on the first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, 3.2.
3.2 is a public hearing as well. It is the second reading of ordinance number 1481-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, amending Chapter 155 impact fees of the City of Zephyrhills Code of Ordinances, adopting simplified land use categories within the transportation impact fee schedules, adopting a timeline and phasing for implementation of amended impact fees, adopting an updated methodology for impact fee analysis, adopting an updated impact fee study, providing for the effect of the transportation impact fee ordinance on other regulations and development orders, providing for purpose and intent, providing for definitions, providing for rules of construction, providing for findings, providing for conflict severability, providing for repealer, providing for codification, and providing an effective date. And again, this is a second reading and public hearing.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this item first. So I'm opening the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak to this item? Anybody signed up to speak? All right. I'm going to close the public hearing. Council for questions, comments, or motions.
I have a question, but I can't find it.
Dr. Spina, I can't hear you.
I think we're all going to have to speak a little louder with this rain.
I have a question. In the ordinance, under the, I think these were loaded different than they're on, anyway.
Yes.
Under the impact fee rate, let me try to find it. There, 58? No, that's not the one. There's a schedule there that shows the impact fees that across the board on the in the ordinance, and it has traffic, transportation, public safety, and park. And for the convenience store category, it's under public safety. It says NA. And I'm just wondering why that one category would be not applicable.
You're talking about, it's page 51 of 461.
51 of 461, correct.
One?
That's what I'm looking at anyways.
Under public safety, specifically convenience stores with gas.
Oh, it's in, all right, yeah, it's in your memo. Okay. The changes in fees, it's, it says convenience store with gas, and then it says updated fees, transportation, 4,200, parks, NA, public safety, NA, and then total NA. So I'm just wondering why those two categories are classified that way.
I think, is that when the commercial don't have a parks, I think is what
It's
talking about.
convenience store with gas,
But the public safety is.
with gas pumps.
Oh, okay.
Clancy, can you hear us? Sorry. Engineers online.
On the ordinance, it's on the,
Yeah.
I don't know
Clancy's
the answer.
online, he should be able to answer that, yeah.
on the city
Clancy?
it's on the city manager's memo, not in the ordinance.
Clancy, the question is, why does the convenience store with gas pumps not have a public safety impact fee associated
Or
with it?
parks.
Well, parks, it doesn't, I don't think the
commercial.
parks go to
Oh,
any
right,
commercial.
okay, yeah, right.
So
it
it's
wouldn't.
just the, why is there,
Just, yeah, the public safety.
why is there not a public safety impact fee associated with convenience store with gas pumps?
Right, so they would pay under the commercial rate for the public safety then?
He said correct.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, I
That was
remember.
my only
Just down there.
question.
We separated out the transportation. We separated out, for transportation purposes, the number of pumps for, instead of the square feet. So for the number of pumps, that doesn't impact, public safety is not impacted by the number of pumps. It just goes back to the commercial, what it is for commercial.
If you go to the bottom of that, it says excludes fast food, restaurant, and convenience store for transportation and includes them for public safety.
So they're based on a per square foot, right?
Correct.
1,000, okay.
Right.
And it's at the commercial rate of, what, 1362 per
Correct.
1,000?
Right.
For
So
public
we'll
safety.
make sure we clarify that. I don't know if we can approve.
What was
approve
in
it
your memo,
contingent
not
on-
in the
Yeah, it
ordinance?
was just in the memo, so.
I think it's fine.
Okay, all right.
You think, Matt, you think?
I think it's fine. It's just, in his memo, it's explaining the methodology. And you recall, we broke out the number of pumps and adjusted just transportation impact fees based on the number of pumps instead of square footage. But what that's showing is public safety is still going by the old square footage rule. We just changed transportation for the number of pumps, which, I think makes sense.
Right.
The number of pumps is related to the traffic.
So you add, you pay the convenience store or the commercial plus you add the pumps? Or is it just that special for pumps?
Well, for public safety, you would just pay the commercial. For transportation, it would be the pumps.
Both, just the pumps?
Yes. Well, I don't know if I don't know how he has it broken out as far as commercial and the pumps, or if it's built in, but it's calculated based on the pumps instead of the square footage. I know that.
I think what he said, that for that specific public safety would be at that per 1,000 square feet, so that would be additive.
Could you
Right,
speak
right.
up?
No,
I'm
no,
sorry, I
they'll pay the
couldn't hear.
public safety. They'll pay the public safety based on the square footage, and then transportation's based on the number of pumps.
Yeah.
That's why it says NA when we're talking about the gas station with the number of pumps.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. President, I want to thank Chris and Clancy and Billy, because we sat down and went over all this, and we made some revisions that we thought were good, were good ones to make, made logical sense. And I think it simplified the code for the building department too, as far as figuring out what the fees were. So with that, if you're looking for a motion, I would move approval of this item.
Second.
But I have a motion to second to approve ordinance number 1481-24 on the second reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Clancy.
Thank you, Clancy.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
All right,
3.3.
business item 3.3, Providence Village annexation. This is first reading of ordinance number 1482-24. Ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, annexing additional territory to be included within the boundaries of said city described as 37518 Geiger Road, Zephyrhills, Florida 33542, in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes as amended.
Okay, this is also a public hearing,
It is a public hearing, yes.
and I'll let Todd give a presentation first.
Again, Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director. We have two petitions, two first reading ordinances, if you remember from a prior council meeting, both sides of Geiger Road. This is, as you can see on the map, the project that's on the south side of Geiger Road, a little under 4 acres. And Matt just indicated in the ordinance, again, we're proposing to go to annex the property, change the future land use to RS, residential suburban, and R3 on the zoning. But what I wanted to focus on a little bit is some comments that the council had raised, and then also some comments from the public, and then we can open up the public hearing for additional comments.
I just want to clarify, there's two separate ordinances, so I've only read in
just the annexation.
The annexation heading.
Okay.
If we want to.
Yeah, I can just make my comments there towards both ordinances, if that's okay.
You want to just make them right now towards both, okay?
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's okay. There was talk about traffic on Geiger Road. Of course, this project will lead to development, if approved, to have three entrances, two on Geiger Road and one on 14th Avenue. There's some question about the number of units, and originally we were looking at 225 units. Now that'd be for both projects, and then the applicant tells me as of late that number could be even less than 200 once you look at final design, engineering, drainage, and tree factors and things like that. So we wanted to look at the.
Let me stop you for just a second.
Okay.
Was a public hearing opened for this item yet? I think we should open the public hearing for Todd's presentation.
Hey, Todd, can I hold you up for just a second?
Sure.
I'm just going to go ahead and open the public hearing up while we're making comments, and if anybody has questions while you're speaking. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and then I'll let you continue.
Okay, no problem. Okay, started with some of the comments that we had as a staff with you folks when we presented the plan report on traffic on Geiger Road. We talked about the entrances that would be proposed on the southern side of Geiger Road, and we actually communicated with Kimley Horn, who's here tonight, on the amount of trips that would be generated based on the number of units that we've talked about. And just for the record, I wanted to read that into the record. And now this is based on 225, and again, I think that number is from what I'm hearing from the applicant, that number might go down to around 200. But with 225, the daily trip generation would be 1,664 trips, and those would be split both going in and coming out. And there was a number presented this staff that we looked at for 2,418 daily trips, and we wanted to confirm that, so we got with Kimley Horn, our traffic engineer, to just have some information on the amount of trips that both projects would generate. And we also look at AM peak hour, that would be 111, and that's 28 trips coming in, 83 going out. And then also looked at a PM peak hour, so an AM in the morning, PM peak hour during the evening, and that was up to PM. There was a little bit higher trip generation. That was 131, with 77 going in, 54 coming out. And so then, so that was just some information we want to check with our traffic consultant to get some accurate information on that and the amount of trips that be generated with the two projects if they're approved. Now, Geiger Road, I hope y'all saw the email from the Pasco County engineer, Chris Henning, and which they're I felt pretty comfortable. If you have any questions, it seems like this is a high priority for them, and they've got to approve the funding mechanism for the MSTU and how they're a new process that they have, and that's about to be approved from what we've been told. And a couple of these main collector projects, which they're including Geiger Road, is on that list of projects to get started, so they anticipate it could get started before the end of this calendar year, as mentioned in that email. And y'all asked that we follow up with them, and that's the latest and greatest that we've gotten from the county engineer. I'd like to also state that we met with Kimley Horn, as city manager mentioned earlier, about all the hot spots. We met with Kimley Horn and visited multiple sites, about 9-10 locations. We looked specifically at the intersection of Geiger Road and Gall Boulevard. That's one of our hot spots. And we think there's an opportunity with the amount of right-of-way we have there to do some additional striping with the existing pavement, maybe add a little pavement where we can add an additional right turn, southbound turn lane onto 301. That'll provide some additional assistance at that intersection. Right now, while we observe the traffic at that intersection for about 15-20 minutes, it seemed to flow through pretty good, but that additional turning lane will help that situation at that intersection. So we're proceeding with Kimley Horn on all the hot spots, getting a scope of services. So I wanted to share an update on that. We also, you see in condition number 3 in the ordinance, where we had discussions with our importance and priority of having a pedestrian element, preferably a multi-purpose trail, sidewalk, whatever we can fit in there. We don't know that exactly for sure right now until the county finishes the survey, knows exactly where the road's going to be, and then we can identify where that sidewalk or trail can be. But the applicant's willing to work with us once we have that survey done to enter into a developer's agreement. They would take care of that sidewalk trail between the two bookends from Island to Geiger Road. So appreciate the applicant stepping up to that, and you'll see that in a condition number 3 in the ordinance. Water usage, there are some claims about how much water that was going to be used in this project. Again, we look at water usage on a gallons per day. We don't really look at it from like a monthly standpoint or an annual standpoint, but it's a gallons per day. And we estimate about 300 gallons per day for a single-family residential unit or a townhome type unit. And so just clarifying some numbers about, with 225 units, again, that number probably go down, but at 225, that'd be 67,500 gallons per day, which again, this project is in the queue, and our utilities department has indicated we have the water capacity for this.
Todd, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
You've mentioned 200 and 225 a couple times.
Yep.
Where's that number coming from?
Originally, we were looking at 225, but after talking again with the applicant who's here tonight, they can confirm this. They say it's more realistic that number might be 200 versus 225 units, and that's for the southern and the northern.
Okay, it's combining Providence Village and Black Marlin.
Correct.
What's the number for Providence Village? Because that's what the public hearing's for. That's what we get the public hearing open for right now.
170.
Okay, so let's
Yeah, it's good
correct
to
those
clarify
numbers
that.
to.
Again, I'm talking about the whole corridor of both projects.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yep.
And how many was that then?
170.
That's now, but what was Providence by itself?
170.
And it'll be less now? What was it before you reduced it? Oh, okay, that's going from 200 to, and then the other project is fewer as well. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Todd, on that, I'm sorry. On that project, if we didn't annex it into the city, what would the county currently allow them to put on the
As a
property
county,
with its current zoning?
well, we look at the county future land use, that kind of overlays the zoning, but the county future land use on that property, both sides of 301 is Res 9. So that equates to 9 units per acre, which all of our conceptual plans showed just a little bit above 7 units per acre. So it'd be less density than won't be allowed under the county's current future land use.
So if they did it through the county, they could actually put more homes on the property?
Yeah, based under the current future land use, correct.
Thank you, Todd.
A couple more comments. Sinkhole was brought up. That's a geotechnical issue, of course. We're aware, since I've been here, knew that there had been some of that type of activity on the eastern part of not the subject property, but just kind of talking about some comments that were raised that were tied to this 4 acres. I don't believe anything on this, but on the 20 acres to the south, on the east side, there was some sinkhole activity. So we're aware of that. If the project goes forward, part of the engineering will of course look very carefully at the geotech report and have them satisfactorily address that. And so we're aware of that, and we'll take the necessary actions to make sure that those types of issues are adequately addressed. Same with endangered species. Endangered species report done. There are gopher tortoises. That's kind of common for Zephyrhills in this part of the county. Florida Fish and Game Commission, they have a permitting process that they'd be required to go through. And there was also a point brought up about police officers, and talked with the police chief. The standard generally that they go with is 2.4 officers per 1,000 residents. So, you know, if you calculate this thing out to maximum, it could lead up to 1 police officer. You know, I think you probably look at the general area. If it's an area that you're already servicing, you probably look at it a little bit differently versus out in the hinterland where you don't provide any service. So, you know, when we bring these projects through, all the department heads, they have an opportunity to chime in, and there's you know, just like water, we look at the water and make sure we got water capacity. So that was an issue that we looked at. And then the last comment that was brought up at the planning report was a question about, you know, if we could dictate the project to be fee simple or rental. And our city manager, I think, forwarded y'all, it was this afternoon, an email stating that we don't believe we can do that from a legal standpoint, but the applicant could probably come up and indicate what their stance has been on that. Chad, you want to? And he could talk a little bit about kind of where they're at with the whole fee simple versus rental.
While he's on his way up, does this include that tree mitigation clause
Yes.
that was in the Adventist?
Item number 4.
Condition number 4.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I don't think it addresses the topography, so it's not identical to Advent, but it's.
Well, it's referencing the table, the 70604 tree removal guidelines. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in.
Name and address, please.
Chad Petnato, 17802 St. Lucia Isle Drive, Tampa. How you doing?
I think you were going to address the fee simple versus rental.
Sure. Our intention at this point is we have no intention of this becoming a rental community. None of the buyers we've spoken to further the development have any interest in making this a rental community.
And I think when I brought that up last week, and it was kind of like that gentleman's comments on the rentals, and I knew all along that, you know, your intention was not to do that, but it's just if somebody comes along and buys, you know, my question to the city attorney was there anything that we could put in, which I guess the answer is no, but I mean, there'll be an HOA with this, right?
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's something that the HOA can do, like maybe homestead for 3 years before you can rent or something, you know, some things like that. So I think there's opportunities for you or the developer, whoever that may be, to kind of address that rental aspect. And I'd like to see that done if we could.
I'll look into seeing if there's something we can do on that side, but you guys have nothing to worry about on this project. It's going to be a fee simple project. But
Anybody else have any?
I have a question. When I met with you, we talked about the timing of this project with the timing of the reconstruction of Geiger Road. And you said the road would be done before you.
absolutely, we believe that the roadway will be, if they're going to be starting it next year. There's no way this is going to get through development and construction until after the year after.
Okay, so I was wondering from the city attorney or the city manager, if we could put a condition that a CO isn't issued until, if the road's not rehabilitated? And I understand you're not going to sell all 100 units at one time and, that impact, but I think it's very important to us that the road is done before the development is CO'd and permitted.
Go ahead.
Mr. Pettinato, hi. You and I didn't get a chance to talk, but at the last meeting, I think I made a couple of comments. First was that I felt like it would be great if we could get to 6 dwelling units per acre, simply because that's the density surrounding this entire piece of property. It sounds like if you're only doing 200 units, we're getting very close to that. Also, one of the things I realized is that we can't really meet that 50% of the protection of the trees. And, that's what we keep hearing is, let's not raise these properties. Let's not take this pristine, agricultural property and, raise all the trees to get into, cram in as many townhomes as we possibly can. I think we're moving in the right direction. My only concern is that we have really no guarantee that the county's going to do what they say they're going to do. And we know that right now, I'm getting, my phone's blowing up. I got people, and these other developments that say, Geiger Road isn't safe now. And if we add another, 400 cars to the road or this 1,000 trips generated every day, we're concerned about safety. It's not just the width of the road. It's also that there's inadequate lighting, that there's no place, there's no curb, that there's no place for people to walk. So the county has not committed to studying, shifting the road slightly so that we could get at least one sidewalk in on one side of the road. And so, it's very challenging for us because because we don't have control over it. It's not like the last project that we just approved. We know that roundabout's coming because we're funding it, or funding a portion of it. The Geiger Road aspect, we don't know. So that's sort of my position on it at this point.
And what I'll say, because we walked out there, and it is difficult because we're dependent on the county, but my feeling is I think they're going to get it going. I really do, because we've been pushing this thing for quite a number of years. One other thing that I'd like to mention is having a sidewalk on that road is something we need to have. It's dangerous. I traveled that road a lot, and you'll come up over the hill sometimes and there'll be somebody right in the middle of the road walking at night in dark clothes. So it's a dangerous situation. I think we still need to push to get lighting at certain intersections, but a sidewalk on there is going to be something that is going to be well received. So, it's tough, but I think we can work, and I think staff will work with the county on trying to get the road reclaimed. And I know there is something. Is there something in the developers agreement? There's nothing about the CO and the road. Is there anything that we have currently?
There's nothing about the road, but there is about the road itself, but there is about the sidewalk. And that we'll enter into a developers agreement once we get some further investigation before the first CO is issued. They'll either contribute to a sidewalk fund, depending on where the road construction is, or enter into a developers agreement to construct the sidewalk. And that'll happen before the first CO, according to.
And the developers agreed to that, right? Absolutely. Okay. And then the other thing I'd like to say is there's not too many projects that we have that have 3 means of ingress and egress. The neighborhood I live in has 2, and this is going to have 3. And I think from what Todd presented, that the level of service on Geiger Road now is, I don't know if he said it, but I think I talked with him earlier, it's either A or B. So the level of service is not bad right now. the other thing that I feel like is with the access to the elementary school there, hopefully there'll be some young families that would utilize that and even just walk their kids to school there. So there's an opportunity to market to those families. I mean, again, Geiger Road, I'm afraid what's going to happen when they improve Geiger Road is the speeds are going to increase on it. Because right now you can't go very fast on it. So, I mean, it kind of self-enforces the speed limit at this point. So we need to kind of think about something and work with the county on trying to calm that traffic once they do have the new surface on there.
So, and I can address that a little bit too, because we've been in that safety committee meetings and it's been talked about. I also met with Commissioner Oakley last week to make sure that this was prioritized, and he assured me it was, and it was a done deal, but it doesn't mean it's a done deal. I'm just telling you that. But it is on their rate, high priority of what they're doing. And we also are going to work with FDOT a little bit on some of that calming and a mid-block, they call it,
Yep.
and lighting. We're going to do everything we can to make this road safer, not just for this community, but for everybody that
Right.
lives in the area, because it is a very unsafe road right now, and you know that. We travel it every day.
Right.
So those are as much assurances that I've gotten. That's, I've been adamant with MPO, with county, and so that's, at least I feel like we've gotten that, to that point, so.
One of the things I thought at the last meeting on the road itself is, if you have a road like Simon's Road is or Founder's Road where it has the curbs, that has a tendency to do that. Plus, you're going to want that sidewalk kind of elevated up off of there anyway. So, I mean, that's another opportunity. I don't know how it'll engineer out, but I think that's something we need to look at if we have any input at all.
I also asked them about lowering the speed limit because they didn't realize that it had 2 speed limits. So we talked about lowering that speed limit to 30 miles an hour, So I believe that's something that the county will look at and do too. So that, not that then people will go 40, but,
Right.
I mean, it's.
Better than 60.
So right now, to answer your question, what we've conditioned the ordinance on for the road is that they'll get a commitment from the county to make the improvements, but I think that's as far as we can go with regards to actually improving the road that I feel comfortable with, because it's not our road, it's the county's road. So I think to tell a landowner that will be in the city that they can't do something until the county do something, I don't feel comfortable with that disconnect.
Council, do you know anything else? Because I want to see if anybody's anybody signed up to speak to this item? Nobody signed up? Anybody wish to speak to this item? Just name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm counsel for the applicant, Lynn Johnson.
Okay.
With the Johnson Pope Law Firm, 14552 Mount Zion Road in Dade City is my residence. I just want to add, you're looking at 15 months almost as a bare minimum before somebody's turning a shovel on that property after an approval. So it's not like, I know everybody's concerned about chicken and egg, but if the county's anywhere close to their schedule, they'll be well ahead of anything that we can do from a construction standpoint or a subsequent developer would do. So the road ought to be addressed first. The second item relates to the sidewalk. We've committed to assist on the sidewalk. Just the problem is nobody knows exactly where it's going to go or what it's going to look like. That's going to take a little back and forth also with the county. It's also going to take some negotiation probably from the city with adjoining landowners. We can commit to do whatever we can do on our property. We can't commit to do it next door. So I just want to make that point that we're ready to do it. We've agreed to the condition of a developer's agreement to do it. It's just going to take a little while before we know what it is. So happy to answer any questions, but I just want to
Anything
add
for
that.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on? All right.
Chairman?
Okay. No other discussion?
Norman signed out.
Oh.
Norman Sherman, please.
Oh, I asked if anybody else wanted to speak.
It was
Or didn't
just,
it? You did fill that out? I did fill it out. All right. Yeah, you're good.
you're good. You're good. Come on up.
Speed bump. My name is Norman Sherman, 37604 Geiger Road, and if it's okay, we're speaking about both Black Marlin and Providence, or are we only speaking about Providence? Or?
Well,
Providence.
we're
This
only
is only-
speaking
this
about
is Providence.
Providence at this
Providence
time.
Village.
Okay.
I'm sure some of the comments will be the same for
My
both,
comments
but
are going to be all-encompassing, if that's okay with y'all. Is
Sure.
that fine, so we can knock out two birds with one stone? Okay. And can my wife cede her time to me since she signed up? Y'all good with that, or no?
yeah, if she signed up and you want to speak for her, we're burning up.
Only time I'll get to speak for my wife.
Yeah, you probably need to do it now, because we've already burned,
Okay.
we've already burned 30 seconds, so you better use.
Start that clock over.
Okay,
Before he
go.
goes, when Black Marlin comes up, if you can come up and say your statements are the same for Providence Village, that way you don't have to repeat
Can you
everything.
reset that clock, please?
Yeah, reset that time clock, please. Let me know when it starts. First of all, I want to thank you for your time, allowing me to come up and speak. As most of you know, I've spoken to you by phone. I've also sent an email to all the council members and the mayor and the city staff. While speaking, representing our family and the adjacent land that's on Geiger Road, we are the properties that, if you look at the map, we are the woods that are to the east of the red box that's up there on the screen, if you're not familiar. We're not against progress, we're not against development, but what we are against is progress and development that is going to be a safety concern and environmental concern, and also going to be just an overall impact and concern on our community. We're talking 200, 225, whatever the number may be. But what we also have to take into consideration is while we're putting this online, just west of that, behind the Sherwin-Williams, that property that was approved 30, 35 years ago, that's going to be coming online too soon. And I understand it's probably a lot of people are going to use Island Boulevard, but when we speak of traffic, we're talking 1.79 cars per townhome, I think is the number. We can use whatever numbers we want. We're talking annually, because I'll deal in annual numbers, that's almost 1 million trips. If 25% of that property that's down behind Sherwin-Williams and these two properties, excuse me, that are up for tonight are maxed out, that's 100% possibly coming out on the Geiger Road from those two properties. And then the Sherwin-Williams property down at Island and Geiger, 25% of that's going to be 1 million trips a year annually. And we can make up whatever numbers. I can make data sound even better or even worse. That's numbers. At the end of the day, as y'all have all stated, I'm beating a dead horse, that road can't handle the traffic it gets. That road cannot take the traffic it has now, and we're going to dump, 200 more townhomes worth of cars. We're going to also then have potentially 25% or so coming from that other one. There's two projects coming online almost at the same time on a road that can't handle it. I made the comment a month ago at the CRA? What was that?
SPRC.
The Planning Commission. At the Planning Commission, I made that comment about, well, hell, we need to 4-lane it. And the comment was, well, I don't know if we're there yet. Well, I mean, I think every single one of you can agree that we are. No matter what we do, and I think somebody had said it just a few minutes ago, we go and we pave the road, we make the road faster. It's already a racetrack. I mean, I got garbage trucks going up and down Geiger Road hauling butt. It's just going to get faster. It's going to get more dangerous. We've already had one fatality in the last year and a half. I think actually the anniversary is coming up in September of that fatality. We've had some hit and runs on Geiger Road. We had a person get hit and then run off on Geiger Road. So sidewalks are great. Widening the road a foot on each side sounds great, but I don't think that's going to be the answer. We're about to flood the road even more. And when we do our studies, let's do our study at 7 o'clock in the morning when people are going to school, people are going to work. You're not getting through the light at Geiger and 301 on 2 cycles. I know because I travel it every day going to school because I work at a school. Cost, it was addressed about the comment being made about not having enough taxes to pay for just the police officers. That statement came from city staff when I inquired about it. So that statement, I made that statement. That statement was not some off-the-cuff statement I made. You're talking about a townhome. We can go ahead and say that an HOA is going to be in place and that we're going to have a moratorium for 3 years where they can't rent it or sell it or whatever. How strong is an HOA? There's a subdivision at the corner of Pretty Pond and Wire Road that has an HOA. Have you driven through it lately? Because it's not a very strong HOA. It looks less than desirable, I think. And I think people would agree when they drive through it. The issue with water, 300 gallons a day. 300 gallons a day, if you break it down to annual, you're talking 23 million gallons of water. That's a lot of water. And again, we have a 35-year-old project that was approved coming online at the same time. So now you're talking about 40, 45 million gallons of water on those 2 projects. Environmental impact, I understand that they're, Gopher Tortoise relocation, FWC would handle that. But what about the fox? What about the turkeys? We have wild turkey out there, or we did. The land got cleared a couple years ago during COVID. So the wild turkey haven't shown up in the last 2 years in the spring. We also have issues with the sinkhole. We can say that we're going to turn that over to a geological consultant to handle. My big question is what's the impact going to be on the people that live on Wilson? What's the impact going to be on the people that live on Plaza View? What's the impact going to be to my property and my in-laws' property? I mean, we can have all the scientists come out we want. There's a lake right there. And there's a house out there that's sinking. Nobody's going to use the 14th Avenue out to West on a daily basis, on a regular basis, unless they have a kid in West or they're traveling to Tampa. Is that my first 3 minutes?
Oh, that was your 6.
That's
my shot
already?
clock. So just to wrap it up, my big thing is this. I want you to think about this, please. You have an obligation to not just the citizens of Zephyrhills, but the people that live in the community, even if we don't live in the city limits. As you all know, do stuff for the city. I work for the city in the summer. I volunteer on the Parks and Recs committee, so I'm actively involved in my community. Is the developer going to develop it, or is the developer going to get rid of it? He has 450 plus properties. Is he going to keep it, or is it going to be sold off to the next person, and then we make an agreement? We can have all the legal agreements we want, but then when we sell it off to a Pulte Homes or whoever, are they going to get in here and they're going to negotiate a new agreement? That's my questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Norm. All right. Well, go ahead. Oh, is there anybody else?
Public hearing's still open.
Yeah, oh, that's true. The public hearing is still open. Is anybody else signed up? Nothing on this, okay. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we can still do for further discussion. Okay. Well, your comments are good, Norm. And, honestly, we all know the issues and everything, and I'm just speaking for the council or the city, not just for myself personally. I too, like you, when those traffic studies come out, I just sort of laugh at them because we know what really is happening and stuff. 4-laning would be great, except I think I don't think it's not possible to put 4 lanes in there. The other thing I think we're up against is I'm pretty sure that GPS, as people are going like to Silver Oaks or to the golf course or Silverado or any of those things out on Island Boulevard, if they're coming on 301, GPS probably turns them right there. So that's the added traffic in itself. So, I mean, there is a lot of concerns. One of my biggest concerns was the rental thing. You've heard us speaking up here, trying to address as many issues as we can. At some point, though, we have to make a decision based on not only the citizens who live in the area, but also the property owner himself. You know, if you look at the map, there's a lot, you know, like Wedgwood right there, and I worked on those buildings or those houses way back in my construction days and things, and, you know, the density is going to be similar. You know, we have to weigh all of those things in together. Property owners' rights, what we can do with working with the county. I'm just rambling. If anybody wants to jump in and kind of give their 2 cents on it, go ahead.
You know, I was going to say this at the end of the meeting, but you know, the problem we're having right now is, and I mentioned this to the city manager last week, we keep doing the same thing and expect different results, and we're not getting different results. So the Adventist annexation, this annexation, I mean, the Adventist rezoning or whatever it was, and this rezoning and annexation are built on our current codes. This is what the city allows developers and property owners and people to do. And until we change this, we're going to still have people come in and say, I don't want this, it's too much. And I think we need to look at revising our zoning ordinance. I think we need to lower our densities more, because there's no other way to get around 14 units an acre or 250 apartments on Wire Road and 170 townhomes here with the current densities. And if we don't change it, we're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over. And it results in, we haven't clarified our water issues. We haven't clarified, we can't resolve most of our transportation issues because most of them are on our roads. And we have to find a way to pump less water and put less traffic on the road. The only way we can do that is changing how we do business. And I think we need to do something different. And otherwise, this is just going to go on and on and on. And, you know, I understand there's benefits and then there's adverse effects. If we say we're not going, you know, somebody may on the north end of town not want to annex into the city because our density rates are lower, they'll stay in the county. But it'll be their water they have to deal with. It's already their roads. We won't be able to do anything about them anyway, probably. But we're not making any headway. And everywhere I go, I hear complaints about roads, traffics, development. We don't have to develop every piece of farmland. We can't buy up everything and keep it from being developed because we can't afford it. We talked about buying 12 acres earlier today for almost $5 million. Well, we can't afford to buy everything up and make it a park or do something. So I don't know how we fix this unless we go back to the drawing table and change things, change how we do business.
Dr. Spinner, I think, you know, for me, these parcels that we're talking about were sort of already in the pipeline. So we extended the moratorium. And the truth is that until we have a solution to the water situation, until we have a solution to our hot spots and some of those kinds of things, I think most of us are committed to saying, no, you can't come in the city. The challenge is this is what I explained to folks, is that then Mr. Patinato can go to the county, and the county's not going to have these stringent requirements. So maybe it's better, it's a lesser of two evils. If he's willing to do 6 units per acre, that's sort of what's developed there now. You know, if it was already under the radar, you know, or not under the radar, but under, you know, under the wire as it related to, you know, to this submission, you know, if it was calculated and determined that the water consumption was going to be part of what we've already been asking for from the SWIFMUD, then I think that, we have to weigh the risk. Do we risk that they're going to develop at 9 units per acre? Are we going to say, let's do 6 units per acre? And then I count on the relationship we have with, Commissioner Oakley and Mr. Smith's, relationship with the MPO. If we can count on the county to do their part, if we can get a sidewalk, if we can get lighting, and we can get the improvements made to Geiger Road, this is the impetus that we're using to get there. So
I know, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, we have all these rules in place. We've let people in under the radar because of they had already been in the works. But even regarding the water, these projects are incorporated in our new water use permit that we don't have yet, that's not approved.
Understood.
Once that is approved, if it's approved at the rate we're asking, we can't approve anything else.
We still can't approve any more new projects.
Because we won't have the water.
That's right. We'll only have enough to handle what we
So why
got.
don't we look at define how we want the town? Do we want 250 apartments on every corner? Or do we want to say, we're going to go down to 10 or 12 units an acre, have fewer apartments. They might cost a little more because the guy's not going to get as much from his project. But it's better. I mean, and that's why, I didn't like the site plans that are sent in that are theoreticals. Most developers, no offense to anyone, but they're going to try to get as much as they can out of the property. That's normal. I mean, that's how you do business. So do we want to keep doing business that way? Because if we do, this is going to happen, and we're all conflicted, and we're going to do it anyway because that's what our code says. But it's not what we want, I don't think.
Well, I just want to back up, kind of what you were talking about. And the city manager knows, because I was in his office for like 3 or 4 years when our density level was 20. We've got to lower it to 14. We've got to lower it back where it was. We finally did. It took us a long time, but you're absolutely right. A lot of things came in under that, though. It does need to be looked at. I agree with you on that kind of thing, because otherwise, it's just like you said, we'll be just having the same discussions every single time.
Can I ask one question? What is the max density allowed on this project per zoning or land use, whichever one's more stringent?
Under the county, it's Res 9.
No, city, what we're proposing. What's the city?
They can go up to 7.5 units per acre under the RS.
R3.
Residential
R3.
Suburban Future Land Use Classification.
And this is just one example. I mean, the other one, he could go up to 14. Whoever it is, could go up to 14 units an acre. And even though we changed it, if we do a PUD somewhere, they can still go up to 20. So
I think staff is hearing the comments made, and that's why we pushed.
I can promise you, staff will not bring a 20-unit per acre development to council.
You're not going to see a PUD the way they were done in the past either. Where we're hearing the comments, and we actually tabled, I think, this project for 1.5 years, 2 years? About a year. We tabled, said we're not going forward because we've heard from the community the road needs to be addressed. And then we got the road addressed.
And you did a great job to get the county to come in and do that. I'm not criticizing
no,
anybody.
no, none taken. But the other thing I just wanted to bring up, we're updating the city's comprehensive plan. That's where we can make recommendations. If we don't like the vision, the way it is now or the way it's been done, that'll be an opportunity that we can put that framework of whatever that vision is, the North 301 corridor, we've been talking about that. We can have a say in how that's going to be done. Now, a lot of that's in the county, but we're trying to get the county work with us on that. But South 301, there's a lot of areas still that are undeveloped that we can have a vision. We'll put that in the comprehensive plan, then we'll implement through the establishment of a land development code, a zoning, standards, heights, a lot of things we can look at. So we have that opportunity if we're not satisfied with the way things are looking.
But, and it's not just us. If you drive down Island Boulevard, there's new apartments going up on Island Boulevard down near the 54, there's apartments going up on 54, there's new apartments on, I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And it all, those people are going to
Start in the county, yeah.
work, and a lot of them, and shop, and go to our post office. And so, you know, that impacts what we do. And, you know, I told Norman, this has been going on a long time. I was the city manager. We were approving these things left and right. It's just not working anymore, in my opinion.
Well, I think one thing we found is, and again, I'm backing you up on what you're saying, and before it was kind of like, well, that's what the zoning was, that's what it's called for, that's what they could do, that's what we did. A lot of the projects we're talking about now are, done extensive conversations, and sort of people in the audience, this is not the first time we've had this discussion either on any of the properties that have been discussed tonight. So, and we are really trying to address a lot of the things, trees, traffic. I'm with everybody about the rental things too. But, you know, I think we're kind of moving in the right direction. In the meantime, while we're still thinking about what do we want to do, we are at least addressing these things a little bit better than we did in the past.
Well, we are, but I just think we need to look a little more. I had lunch today with somebody who said they've lived here since 1987. This isn't the place I moved to. Well, obviously not. I mean, things happen, things change. You know, when you have a property like Gore's Dairy and those size property, I mean, those things happen. Look at Simon's Road. 5 years ago, it was a dirt road with nothing, and now it's 3 or 4 subdivisions paved. Talk about a speedway. And it's just, though, I try to look at this, how can we make it better? How can we fix? And I just think we have to look at our zoning densities again.
President, could,
yes, go ahead.
and I think that's good discussion, what you're saying. The problem is, until Pasco County does something different, nothing will change.
Well,
We can change what we can, and that's what I think we're trying to do. We're trying to make it better. Pasco County is the big gorilla, and there's 30,000 units south of us. There's 40,000 at the connected cities. So, you know, that's who we need to be having dialogue with.
27,000
as much
people
as
moved
pos-
to Pasco County. 27,000 people
As much
moved to
as
Pasco
possible.
No, but that doesn't mean we have to approve everything 4 stories or.
No.
You know,
we're not.
Pedal to the metal.
And-
As many units as you can get on there with the 14 density you can have.
And I don't think we are,
require
though.
percentages
In this case, I don't think we are, you know. I think
It's
that
6 units.
there's 3 means of ingress and egress there. There's not, that apartment that Pasco just put out has 1, you know, out there on Island. I don't think that volume is an issue on Geiger Road. I think it's the condition of the road. I mean, I go up and down that road. I'm a lot of times the only car on it. Maybe there's a couple cars, you'll pass a couple cars. So it's the condition of the road, to me, not the volume on it. We're trying to look at the intersection of Geiger Road and 301, a right-hand turn lane. I think that would be awesome. I bet most of the traffic that is on Geiger Road is not from Geiger Road. I'm positive of it. I would say 75%
yeah. I
is
mean,
cut
it's a
through.
That's what I was saying. I'm sure GPS takes people that way.
If Bo Hilton sells his property out there and it's 2,000 homes, guess what? Geiger Road's going to have more traffic on it. And there's not a thing we can do about that. So
Ride it every day, a couple times.
So what we have to do is we have to do as good as we can with what we have. I feel like that's our job. And we try and work with Pasco County as much as we can, like we're doing. I mean, other than that, and we try and put the onus on the developer to put a sidewalk that's much needed on that road. So, I mean, I feel like we're doing as much as we can. I was born here in 1962. Guess what? Zephyrhills has changed, you know, but it's still my home, you know. What am I going to do? It's changing. I'm sure people in Tampa say the same thing that have lived their whole lives. So, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. It's never going to go back to what it was like when we were growing up. That's gone. If we want that, we need to move to North Florida. So we've got to do the best that we can with what we have. That's what I think. And I think we're doing it.
Well, I agree with Councilman Spina that we definitely need to look at the amount of homes that we allow on an acre of land. And we did drop it from 20 to 14, but I think we even need to go lower. But in this particular case, if we don't pass it, the man can go to the county and put in more homes than what we're allowing. I mean, that's what we talked about at the last meeting. If we, it's zoned for what it's zoned for at this current time. So it's really hard to deny the property owner rights versus the fact that I understand, I've lived here since 1986. Believe me, it's changed. And I don't have the answer on that, but I would like to maybe, as a council, put it on the agenda to look at the amount of homes we allow on the properties. But, I mean, it's zoned what it is. If we don't allow him to do something, he's gonna go to the county, and we know the county's gonna approve it. We know they're gonna let him do the maximum that they allow. And so here we are.
I think that, yeah, we kind of get a little sidetracked. The discussion on future, looking at our density is something that needs to be discussed. But we're looking at this particular project right here, right now, annexation. And again, just as all of us have said, we're trying to do as much as we can. And Councilman Proctor just said it. It's zoned the way it's zoned. I mean, well, annexation-wise, for the city, it would be different than the county. And, I would probably look at this differently if this was the first density project that was done on the road. But if you look at the map, I mean, there's a lot of density already there. And it's going to be hard to say, Wedgewood, you guys are allowed to do that, you guys are allowed to do that, but you can't. I think working, as Todd said and Chad said, and, density and Councilwoman Wilkerson trying to work down towards more of that number we're talking about, like Wedgewood or the parcels in there. That's all we can do today in this time with the zoning and ordinances the way they are at this point. So, I mean, I don't know any other further discussion that we can have other than, I think at this time we need to take action on the ordinance, which is first reading of the Providence Village annexation.
I think we have to, we just have to rely on the fact that we have faith in the county to do what they say they're going to do. We have a relationship with a developer who has made good decisions for us in the past. I just, it's not a stranger coming into town that's really all about making the money and running. I think it's the lesser of evils. I do. So.
I think at this time we're done with discussion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1482-24 on the first reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right.
Mr. President, next item we have is business item 3.4. It is the first reading of ordinance number 1483-24, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, proposing amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, changing from Res 9 Pasco County to RS Residential Suburban and County R3 Pasco County to City R3 Medium Density Residential, described as 37158 Geiger Road, Zephyrhills, Florida 33542, in accordance with section 171.004 Florida statutes as amended. This is also a public hearing. This is rezoning and changing future land use for the same parcel that we just discussed.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. And Todd, you had spoke a little bit, but you were kind of was more towards the other one. Okay, so.
I just want to, for the record, state that all the comments for ordinance 1482-24 I would like carried over to this ordinance, since they were kind of intermingled. The discussions were about the annexation and the use all together. So for record purposes, we need to have all of those comments addressed here. if that's ever taken up an issue, we need to pull the comments from the last ordinance as well.
Right. Okay, and so, does anyone sign up to speak to this? All right, nobody signed up. So, as far as the comments, because, as Mr. Schuman had said before, it's kind of the same thing. Is there a way to, those comments entered into this public hearing, or
My opinion, I think he just needs to stand up and say, comments I made, like what Matt just said, comments I made for ordinance 1482-24, I'd like to carry forward to this one.
Yeah, Norman Sherman, 37604 Geiger Road. The comments that I made prior go to this.
Providence Village.
So the comments you made on ordinance number 1482-24 will carry over to ordinance number 1483-24. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak to this? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council for discussion or action.
Mr. President, I think these obviously are the same issues as we looked at before. I'd move approval of this item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1483-24 on the first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. 3.5.
3.5 is second reading of ordinance number 1484-24, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida related to medical marijuana treatment centers, adopting finding of facts, providing definitions, imposing a temporary moratorium on the opening of any new medical marijuana treatment centers, severability, repealer, and an effective date. This is a public hearing.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open a public hearing on this at this time. City Clerk, has anybody signed up to speak to this item?
I have no one signed up for speaking for this item.
Anybody wish to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing. And council?
President, I move approval of this item.
Second.
Motion to second to approve ordinance number 1484-24 on the second reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Nay. I'm opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, motion passes 4-1.
Sorry. I'd like to know what your concern is.
Well, I brought them up at the last meeting. I think that the free marketplace will determine where businesses are going to go. And I know we talked about pluses and minuses, but I talked to some people, and I just think it's better to let the marketplace decide it, so.
Thank you. 3.6, Black Marlin annexation.
Yes, business item 3.6 is the first reading of ordinance number 1485-24, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, annexing any additional territory to be included within the boundaries of said city described as parcel number 032621001011700020 Zephyrhills, Florida 33542 in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes as amended. This is a public hearing. I'd ask that that be open for Mr. Corvo's comments
Okay,
as
I'm
well.
going to open the public hearing and then let Rodney give a presentation.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Rod Corvo, Principal Planner. First, I want to recognize the vigorous discussion on the last agenda item that's pertinent to this on the other side of Geiger Road. And all the items that Todd discussed and highlighted on Geiger and some of the other issues are also germane on this particular property. Do we have my PowerPoint? I'm going to give just a 30-second truncated refresher on this. It's a three-part annexation into the city. It's a rezoning to R3, which is medium density, and then an assignment of residential suburban. You can go to the next slide, please. As a reminder, we worked with the applicant to reduce that. They originally requested an R4 zoning with a residential urban. So this will be more reflective to the adjacent current development, which is around 6 dwelling units per acre. Issues identified, heavily wooded, the condition of Geiger Road, and then the intersection of Gall and Geiger. Those are all issues that Todd talked about in the last one on Providence Village, still germane, and we put those into the staff conditions into the ordinance that you see before you this evening. We vetted out the sidewalk as previously discussed, put that language in there, and we'll hold the developer to a developer's agreement. When the time comes on that, we'll work with the city attorney. I'm here if you have any questions, and we've got the developer and the developer's representative.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Under the water, so you're saying that if we don't have the water,
Correct. All
then we won't
moving
provide it.
forward any of the residential development until we get our update from the Water Management District. Even though these were wrapped into the previous water use permit to cover ourselves, we're putting that condition in all of them. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note that you have added under the trees, that it will apply to Land Development Code Section 7.0604, which is tree removal guidelines. I do recognize, I mean, this is a heavily wooded lot. I mean, and to put, anyway, I understand the difficulty, but you said you will walk a site, so I feel that that's
Absolutely, we will.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman.
Okay, and so a lot of the same comments, obviously, are exactly the same on this project. It's on the same road. I'm assuming that if there's any, well, let me see, is there anybody signed up to speak to this? Okay, so I'm assuming that Norm would want to make the same statement on this. Are we looking for that, or?
I would say yes.
Okay. You got to do it 2 more times, Norm, now and then just in a minute.
You can repeat it all if you want, but.
I have no problem. Stick around long.
Tom.
You're entitled to. Norman Sherman, 37604 Geiger Road. My comments on the Providence matter will roll over to this with one question. The water that's on this, does that go with the other project too? Is that in place?
The condition?
Same conditions, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
We're not guaranteeing that we're gonna have water available at the time of CO by annexing in and changing the zoning. So that, that'll be based on our, water use permit at the time that site plan comes forward.
All right, thank you.
Right. I'm going, anybody else? I'm going to close the public hearing. And council?
Can I just make one comment?
Yes, go. Sure.
One of the things that I had talked to staff about is if this comes online, that they're cognizant of the entrance into this and Wedgewood, that it really needs to meet up if possible. Otherwise, it's going to cause a very hard issue for those residents coming in and out. So just be cognizant of that as they go forward with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I think something that was brought up way back in previous ones was lighting is going to be a big issue, and I think that's something we need to make sure we're looking at too.
May I ask one question? How many units did you say this would be about?
This particular
This is a different one.
31, okay, all right, thank you. All right.
How large is the lot?
They're
4.155 acres.
townhomes, right?
Thank you.
Townhomes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of this item, Mr. President.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1485-24 on the first reading. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. 3.7.
Yes, 3.7 ordinance, this is the first reading of ordinance number 1486-24, ordinance of the city of Zephyrhills, Florida, proposing an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, changing from R1 MH Pasco County to RS Residential Suburban, and the zoning designation from Pasco County RMH to city R3 medium-density residential for approximately 4.155 acres of real property, having parcel number 032621001170000020, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date. This is also a public hearing.
Okay, I will open the public hearing. I don't think, Rodney, you need to explain anything more, did?
That's correct. This is just the zoning.
The zoning, right.
Part. Yes, sir.
Will we need,
I think we can just say, we'll let the record reflect that Mr. Norman's comments are also rolled over to this. I assume that's what you want to do. He's nodding yes, so.
okay, all right. So we'll continue on with those comments from Mr. Schuerman. I'll close the public hearing. And council?
Mr. President, I move that we approve on the first reading ordinance number 1486-24 with the conditions and comments for the previous items incorporated.
Second.
Thank you for that. I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1486-24 on the first reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council, Mayor.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you, Rodney.
3.8.
Next item is 3.8, first reading of ordinance number 1489-24, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, approving a rezoning PUD plan unit development master plan amendment to the Gagney-Chancey Road Plan Unit Development for the property identified as 3356 Paul S. Buckman Highway, Zephyrhills, Florida, 33540, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, and this is also a public hearing that I'll open up.
It is public hearing, yes.
I will open a public hearing, and I'll turn the presentation over to Todd.
Good evening again. Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director for the city. Our last planning item tonight. This is for property. Do we have the map that we can bring up?
I gotta pull it out.
Okay, while he's bringing this up, this is the Gagney PUD plan unit development was done a long time ago. I think.
I don't know. Like 7 figures. Oh,
what the? That wasn't me.
No, that wasn't you.
That's not part of the presentation?
No, that was not part of my presentation. I assure you. Okay.
Mike was on the phone.
All right, go ahead, Todd. You can continue.
All right. So the Gagney PUD is located on both sides of Chancey Road, south end of town, and it's straddled by State Road 39 on the west side. So we'll bring up a map here, try to do that. But they're proposing an amendment to the plan unit development plan that was done a long time ago. A lot of it has to do, if you remember back to the plan and report, at the southeast corner of the intersection of Chancey Road and 39, they're proposing an indoor storage facility. They came in before the moratorium of the indoor storage facilities that are currently under place, so they're able to move forward with that. But we are requiring them to amend the plan unit development master plan. They're exceeding the height that was originally approved, so we've asked them to amend the PUD. So that's the process they've gone through, staff, the Planning Commission. In your packets, if we're not able to bring it up, I think you remember we had a number of renderings. We had a plan view that shows the indoor storage. We had some profile cross-section drawings. We lowered the height from what they originally provided, and we feel like they've come up with a pretty attractive exterior facade and landscape plan on the property. Not a lot of tree issues on this one, but which is good. But in the ordinance, you'll see where the city attorney had included in the ordinance itself the amended PUD master plan. We've also included new conditions of approval, and they were included as an attachment in your packets. And then we've also included under section 6, those are site plan renderings. There's some renderings that we had submitted, and we displayed those, and we asked informed the applicant that they were committed to that design and architectural rendering, so we informed them we were going to include that as an exhibit in the ordinance. So that's why you see that in there. We do have the applicant's representative, David Fleming, here, that if you have any questions, he can confirm what we've talked about. Staff and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the PUD modification for the Gagney. We got it coming up. There's the site plan. And that's showing the landscape plan. We got some rain gardens that we're looking at. We're going to try to dedicate the corner for our industrial corridor for some potential signage. We'll have to work out the details of that once we move forward with the engineer's site plan. There's a wetland that's straddled by the pond. We do have a multi-purpose trail that's going to be along Chansey Road. That trail will continue further to the east on the Tibbetts property. I don't know, do we have the rendering of how the building looks or not? If we don't.
I think we've already seen it,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I think y'all have pretty good understanding. Any other comments or questions?
Hey, this is one of those rare ones that the water and the traffic are not that big of an issue. So.
No public safety issues. It's a good-looking building. Okay, this is a
Yeah,
win.
I think, like you said, the commitment to the renderings themselves is huge, because that's going to, and the signage to the industrial corridor is a nice transition into the heavier industrial. I think it's going to be kind of nice, so.
I think as a reward, this should be the first item on the agenda next time.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn over to council.
I move we approve this PUD.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the PUD 0016-22 Gagney PUD indoor storage. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. All right, Finance Director's report. Ted's been waiting patiently.
This is the last finance item on the agenda today. It's the setting of the tentative millage rate. In your agenda packet, staff's recommendation is to set it 6.25. It refers to the amount of total valuation, taxable valuation at 1.5 million from Pasco County. We had increased value at 220 million. Of that, new construction was 131 million. The rollback rate was 5.9552. The staff is recommending that we keep our same millage rate at 6.25. The only change would be our public hearings would be on September 9th and September 23rd. In your packet, it's September 10th, because I'm used to like offsetting our meeting, not the conflict with the county. So this year there is no conflict. We'll just keep it on council meeting days. That's my present to you.
All right, thank you, Ted. City Manager, have anything to add to that? Does council have any questions?
I'm available for questions.
All right, fire away.
Well, I'm just thankful that we're not having to raise the property taxes again. We lowered them 2 years ago, and we kept them the same last year, and we're keeping them the same this year. And that's a good thing during these economic times. Thanks, Ted.
You will have the option of lowering it later on if you choose to do so. We just can't go higher.
I just noticed on this memo, you listed millage rates past like 10.23 and 11.25. Is that right? We
That's
can't
correct.
go over a 10-point millage.
Why not? I'm not familiar.
State law. No government agency can go over 10. I mean, we wouldn't go up that far anyway, I'm sure. But I just was.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that, Steve. Excuse me, Doctor. It's been, it's because
State law
the
caps it.
state.
Yeah, the state caps
When I
it.
go ahead and filled out the paperwork on their website, they said, okay, 2/3 vote, majority vote.
Yeah, that paperwork, I give you credit for doing that paperwork, man. That's hard, but I just,
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
we won't use it anyway, but
Okay.
I'm sure. I move that we,
It's good to have that. It's good to have your brain trust, yeah.
I move that we approve the millage rate, 6.25.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve of this tentative millage rate at 6.25. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. City manager report, we've done 5.1 and 5.2, so we'll move right to 5.3.
Which is Zephyr Park.
Oh, Gail.
Have we got okay. The item before you is the scope of services for the Zephyr Park design permitting services and construction documents. What we want to do is, since we have the ARPA funding, which is the federal funding that we can use to create the construction documents, once we have the construction documents, we can build as we go. But we have to have a plan. We need to lay it out as we get money. Once I have construction documents, I can apply for other grants as well. But I have to have the construction documents. So the item before you is to have Kimley Horn, who has been working with us on the design for Zephyr Park. At their February 15th meeting, Parks and Rec Advisory Board made a recommendation to the City Council to move forward with construction documents. We created the scope, and here we are.
All right.
President,
Yes, go ahead.
If no one else has any objections, I was going to go ahead.
I just want to add one thing. So in the documents, and when Kimmy Horn did a presentation, they recommended that we get a construction manager. Personally, I think funding-wise, we're going to have to do this as we go, like you said, little by little. I just don't see the value in hiring a construction manager for a project like that. When it comes time to pour sidewalks, we can get some bids on sidewalks and pour them just like we did around town, and several other things. I mean, there may come something where we need some kind of a manager, but just to hire one for the whole entire project, as I've been stating for months, I want to spend my money on things, not ideas and other consultants and things like that. So I think we can utilize our money better by getting what we want at the park.
Well, and if in the scope of services, yes, James talks about construction manager at risk, but the idea is that if we hire a construction manager at risk and go forward, they will provide services to the construction manager. It doesn't say we have to.
Right, but I think that when they were here doing a presentation, they kind of recommended it, and I just don't think that is really necessary by itself.
And I think that's what he did it because we have one at
Yeah,
Hercules Park.
yeah, right.
Well, and I think as we discussed earlier, I think we use common sense on when we use them and when we don't. And to your point, to lay sidewalk, I think Shane is very capable and to be able to manage that project. If it becomes much larger, and not that he can't handle it, but just on the daily load that we have is having that construction manager. And ultimately, all of that has to be approved through council. But I agree. I think if, as we phase this in, to place playground equipment,
Well, the plan will show where the playground equipment will be. It will show where those things will go, and it will have a detailed drawing of how it's to be set. So that will all be covered in the construction documents.
But there's some other advantages of having a construction manager at risk. So one of the things that they do is they track tax savings, right? So they do all the paperwork, and otherwise that falls on Shane's shoulder or his people to document tax savings for materials and things like that. So maybe that isn't that valuable on this project. I think that the traditional design build bid is not, because then there's no opportunity to get preliminary pricing. So that's what these construction managers do, is that the architect comes up with an idea, they go out and qualify it pricing wise, and then they come back to us and say, hey, what do you want to do about this? Because we're over budget on that part. So, you know, I think there's some advantage to the construction managers at risk, but I think maybe we decide what scope makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah, I think like a project like Hercules, which is brand new, everything's getting done all at the same time. That,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of makes sense there. But I think the way we're going to go about this, we can rely on our professional in-house building department when it comes to things, and our
Well, I really hope
supervisory professionals and our purchasing professionals and our, all that, so.
I'm really hoping that once we get the construction documents, we'll be able to get funding from the state, from different parks grants, and hopefully have a pocket of money to do.
Yeah,
quite
and
a
I
bit
mean,
of
you
it.
know, we're talking about phases, but I would like to see the phases, I mean, coming rapidly, not like we're gonna do this and then we'll
let
wait,
it sit
then
for a
6
year.
months or 9 months or a year later, we do something else. So I mean, I hope we can get all those grants and things and just keep the ball rolling right as we go.
All right.
Mr. President, in here, and I know we've had discussion about it, is the Alice Hall building. Just reading in here, it says the proposal assumes that the existing Alice Hall structure will be removed by others and is not incorporated into the design. I mean, I don't know that all of us have come to that conclusion, have we?
Well, and let me go back one more. When we were talking about the Parks and Rec Master Plan, that is something that they're going to discuss with you in August and give you, I guess, ideas, or they're going to rank locations and why they're ranking those locations, and Zephyr Park for a community center will be discussed at that August meeting.
So I guess my question is an area being, the way I read this,
There is
no
an
area is
area
being,
identified in there that we could put. There is an area identified in the park where we could put a community center.
okay, so, well, I just, the way I read that in here, it doesn't read that way. That it's going to
It's
be
saying
removed and
it's-
it's not incorporated into the design. That means to me, it's not in there.
Well, what he's saying is, because in one of Shane's comments, Shane said we needed to address it up front. And so I said to James and his staff, look, the Parks and Rec Master Plan people are going to identify a place. I need for both of y'all to agree on where that place is in Zephyr Park. And so they do.
Okay, and that was, they work for the same firm, correct? Okay, so I guess what I don't want happening on this is all of a sudden we're shown a 80% set of plans, you know? I'd like us to be involved looking at this thing conceptually, several bites at it, so we can get with people and just make sure that it suits the needs of the community.
Agree. I didn't, because they're not going to, the community is not going to call me about a community center. They're going to call you. So we want to make sure that you are well-informed and know what's going on and be part of it and of that discussion. So that's why James and Kristen with the Master Park Plan got together and identified a location.
So, Councilman Smith, I think your concerns will be addressed in item D. Let's see, what is this? Scope of Services Task 1, item D, and it says Kimberly Horn will prepare for and attend up to 3 scheduled city council meetings that correspond with the 30, 60, and 100% submittals to the city. Then Kimberly Horn will discuss the progress of the project and obtain input from the council. City council meetings will include the preparation of park renderings and illustrative 3D graphics to convey park design progress.
Thank you.
And I will say on James's behalf, our contract with him said that during the design of this, that there would be 3 public meetings. They held 7 total because they wanted to make sure, and we didn't pay any extra for those meetings. So they want to make sure that we're happy with the design, or you're happy with it, and the community.
Money allotted in the budget for this agreement, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's through ARPA funding.
okay.
You have some state appropriation funding for the park also. Is that part of this, or is that for something else?
That is separate. It has to be used for park equipment, and we're
Oh,
looking.
physical, I mean,
Yes, yes. And we'll use that money for probably a playground, playgrounds, I should say, equipment.
President can move to approve.
Get a second.
Okay.
Get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Zephyr Park Design and Permitting Services with Kimley Horn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. Okay, motion passed unanimously. Or you said no?
It's a nay.
Nay.
Oh, nay, okay.
Nay.
All right, the motion passes 4-1.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have come to the portion of the meeting where we have citizens' comments on a range of items, so
Yes.
we
there are
do
two
have
signed
someone
up
signed
citizen
up.
comments. First, I have Devin Alexander.
All right, Devin, you know the drill. Name and address in 3 minutes.
Devin Alexander, 5327 Tangerine Drive. So I'm sure some of you guys know why I'm up here. I'm here to talk a little bit about recording our meetings. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it before. Sorry I couldn't make it to the budget workshop earlier, but I think it's important. It's something that I'm passionate about. I think that it enhances transparency. I think it also opens ability for folks that are working that cannot make it to this meeting to collaborate and engage what we have going on in this city. And to be quite frankly, I mean, we've got so big to where it's just needed. And so I just stand before you requesting that it's taken into consideration as we're beginning to have those budget conversations and proposals. If there is assistance needed with research, I've done some research. I'm willing to help. I know that our PIO and I have talked about it before. It's been done, and it's being done in other cities similar to our size. And so we could definitely glean and learn a little bit from what they're currently doing out there and kind of figure out what's going to work best for us. And so I just ask that you take it into consideration going into this upcoming budget year so that we can enhance, get more transparency, get more collaboration. And I mean, there's times I travel a lot, and there's times where I want to see the meetings, and it would be nice to be able to, go online and have those where I can still stay looped in. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you, Devin.
You'll be one of the 4 people who want to watch it.
And I think that might be something we need to put on the agenda for a full discussion on it at some point in the near future.
My notes.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Gary Dollingen. Sorry if I said that last name incorrectly.
Jerry?
I think they left.
Oh.
They weren't as tough as you, Devin.
All right. Anybody else back there want to say anything? All right, we'll move on to the mayor announcements then.
Yeah, I just wanted to just kind of give you a little update. As I said, I went and met with Commissioner Oakley, and I met with him on many of the things that we talked about today, how they are boxing us in and making it impossible for our residents to leave our city. And that, he did address that there still needs to be more homes built that in Pasco County, but I assured him that we had plenty in East Pasco over here, that we'd be happy to see some businesses come in instead of apartments and homes and so on and so forth, because you can't go south, you can't go west, east, west, whatever that direction. And then I did address with him the corridor between here and Dade City. I don't want us to blink and that look like I-19. And I know that each one of you are on that same page. We don't need those hills sheared off. We don't need apartments and homes and this and that, just all the way here from here to Dade City. So I asked for those conversations to be opened again from when Todd worked with them years ago, and Dade City worked with them on that master plan of what maybe that corridor should look like. So I just wanted to let you know that I maybe stepped out of my work job title, but I felt strongly that that was something that I needed to address, and if I need to, I'll go to each one of them and address, but he is our council, you know, our commissioner for our area. So those are strong things that I stressed with him. So just wanted to make sure you knew that I'm fighting as much as I can and listening to our public, and that's what I let him know. These are the same people that are going to be voting for you, are the same people that are talking to us, letting us know that there's too much. It's too much, and we've got to slow down. So, thank you. That's all I have.
City Manager.
Just two, that we are working with Metro and their contractor in Pasco County on Cossack Road, so we may potentially have a solution, or at least a design to be able to, everyone to consider. So we're moving towards that. And then also I know that our water consultant met with SwiftMud representatives on the 16th out at an EMP site. And so that submittal, RAI number 3 is nearly completed. Matt, John, and I have to meet tomorrow to finalize the agreement, the draft agreement with the Evans Orseys that we can attach to the RAI, and then that'll be submitted to SwiftMud. So once we get that submitted, I'll let you know when we submit, and then we'll see if we've answered the remaining questions.
What was the deadline on that?
It was actually July 10th. My understanding is so they asked for a request because they had to schedule a meeting with Brian, he starts with an S, Sweeney, I think, is on site to go over what the EMP looked like and the language. So
That's all you have?
that's all I have tonight.
All right, City Attorney.
I'll be out the second part of this week. I'm going to the Florida Municipal Attorney Association Conference. I went to it a few years back, and then I think the two prior, in between then and now, were virtual only, so they're back to meeting in person this year, and I'll be headed to that.
Right.
But that's all I have.
Have a good time. The council, starting with Councilman Smith.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. First off, I want to thank everybody for hanging in here, right? It's great. We've been sitting in this room for 5.5 hours now, so can I hear 6? No. I want to, Ted, Jessica did a great job on that budget. I thought she did a fantastic job. I was glad to see her do it. Thank you for allowing her to present. I think that's great. And staff, again, thanks so much for staying here for this full duration of this meeting. We had, with the MyTech, we had 155 jobs. With Paducah, I think we had 600 jobs. So that's 755 jobs that are going to be here. It's 755 people that are going to be on our roads. We know that, you know. But hopefully we can have them be short trips. I'm hoping that these people will live in some of these projects that we have coming online, and that maybe they're short trips. There's still going to be trips nonetheless, but I hope they come in here, live here, raise a family here. You know, that's our goal. That's what we've all done. So I think that's what we want to happen. Very exciting for the tennis center with this new change. I think, and I have talked to Pascal a little bit, I think sometimes with a new infusion of people comes a new infusion of ideas too. So I think it's an exciting time. We all know the water and traffic issues. We're trying to fight them. I think we work together as a team, and I think our staff does a great job of trying to head off these issues before they become issues. So I think we're very proactive as a city, but Pasco County is just, they're the 800-pound gorilla, and we've just got to start reaching out to them and seeing if we can start slowing, because what's going to happen, the interest rates are going to start going down a little bit, and watch what happens again. So we've got to go ahead and start lobbying them to do what we did. We did a moratorium. let's slow it down, So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
So, so you made some great points there, because I think that there's a reason why Mr. Pettinato isn't going to the county, because it's still easier to work with the city of Zephyrhills. Our fees are more simplified, and the reality is that people want to live in the city. And the only, we talk about there's these houses, these new homes that are coming online, these are townhomes, so at least they're helping to fill that middle, that missing middle, that we, potentially home ownership for folks who are teachers and firefighters and that workforce group that we need to provide accommodations for. I hope that these new jobs, that with that comes training and some, technological or trade education for these young people, because we want to keep them here. So nothing further for me, thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Franco.
Well, first I'd like to again thank Ted and his team for doing a great job on the budget. But I'd like to just say one thing. We hire so many consultants. We spend so much money on consultants. When in-house, we have a lot of people that are quite capable of taking care of a lot of these issues that we deal with. That's one of the reasons, no offense, Ms. Gale, because you do a good job. But I'm just tired of sending money out. And a lot of times, we've spent money on different consultants and done nothing with what we paid them, nothing. And I just feel it happens a lot. And it really bothers me, and I think we could do better. I think we could do more in-house. And I feel strongly about that. And I would also like to put on the agenda whenever, but I do believe we do need to, if we want to lower the density, we got to put it back on the agenda to discuss what we can and can't put on. That's going to be a great way to lower the density of the housing that's going on in these projects. And I would like to take that to a further discussion if we could. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just want to clarify something we discussed at the budget workshop when I was talking about hiring the building official. Hiring a city manager is completely different than hiring a department head. The city manager is a charter officer. Council hires and terminates that position. In the situation when we had a deputy, we did advertise that. We interviewed several people, and the deputy was hired to assume the position. I think a department head position needs to be advertised.
It was advertised as a deputy building official with the intent to fill in as the building official. That's how we advertised it. That is how it was advertised. And we had.
But hiring a department head or staff is totally different from hiring a city manager. 100% different.
How would that be? If we advertised it properly, how would you like us to do it?
I'm just saying that hiring a department head and a city manager is two different things.
Okay, I'm not going to debate that with you, but my statement was that we did it the same way, which is we advertised.
You'll advertise it as a deputy building official for the building official?
Yes, sir, we advertised it as a deputy building official to then turn into the building official, yes.
I'd like to see
Same
that
as we did with the
advertisement
deputy clerk, was the same advertisement. We did the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah? Okay. And I want to just thank everybody, too, for hanging in there. And I also want to thank council for the, the robust discussions that we have. I hope people realize that, we're trying our best to get these projects as minimal impact as we can, but, just we have to abide by our laws and ordinance and rules and everything at the same time. So I appreciate the council for what we discuss, and I know it makes the meetings last longer, but I think it's important for us to do it that way and for the citizens to know that they're being thought of in our thought process. So, and that's all I have, and I will adjourn the meeting.
Mr. President, I forgot Just before.
yeah,
Lori, this is your last meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Lori.
Isn't it? What a wonderful way to send you off, right? I'm so sorry.
All right, meeting adjourned.
I'm hungry.
I can't eat on it, sit that long.
Carrots, catered, celery. I did too.